Hello, my name is Lysa Black and I am here teaching the soul sharing series. This is such a joy for my heart to be able to impart to the other intuitives and healers, creatives in this world, to be able to support you to find an authentic way to market your sacred healing art. I allowed myself to come forward as a healer 2 years ago, and it was one of the scariest things I've ever done, but it has been the most rewarded and celebrated and prosperous time in my life. And I want to take, I guess, the things that I was forced to learn out of necessity and impart them to others, and in hope that you can use this information to really clearly and authentically reflect the true nature of your sacred work, so that those who are seeking you can find you easily. What I want to talk about today is vulnerability and leadership, and I think the idea of an expert about 50 years ago was someone who had freaking everything down. You know, doctors were really big, people who had these pristine, clear, you know, shall we say, like smooth looking lives. They were the people that were apparently experts. They were the people who didn't have any problems. And if you had a problem, going to someone that did not have a problem was kind of the best thing that you could do. Now, in 2017, it is clearly obvious that nobody has it together. And this is a good thing, okay? A lot of people are talking about how this is the age of truth. And it's actually a time when the shadow is being revealed, when the underbelly and the truth of our weaknesses and our fallibilities are actually quite present and quite transparently easy to see. Now, I know that there will be some people who are shaking in their pants, knowing that everyone is around with a camera, that there are journalists in all sorts of the world who will investigate you and look at what you're doing, and a lot of the leaders of the world are having their personal lives scrutinized. Now, why is this good news for the healers, intuitives, and creatives in the world? Well, the good news is that people are no longer looking for shiny, perfect experts. Okay, that time has come and gone. And if you see anyone that's actually trying to promote themselves as having it all together, they are freaking lying from the get-go, and therefore not worthy of our trust. And I guess what I want to deliver is a little bit of a pattern that you can follow. And the reason why this has become so important in my work is I realized as a heart healer, actually opening up and sharing about my own binge eating difficulty that plagued my life for 3 years, and the anxiety challenges that existed prior to that for my whole life, was something that I vulnerably shared with my market. I wasn't intending to kind of attract my ideal market. I just knew that I had to fess up to myself and the world that I'd actually genuinely really struggled with something in a way that I didn't know if I was ever going to overcome it. And being locked in those battles for so long, it was horrific. And I came out of it through intuitive self-healing, committed to making it possible for anyone, whether they paid me or not, to freaking know how to do that for themselves, because it's so damn scary when there's this form of compulsion living in your internal world. By revealing exactly how I had healed my own anxiety and binge eating disorder in my first book, Heart Healing, the 13 Principles of Emotional Self-Healing, what actually happened was that this wave of people came forward actually confiding in me that they struggled with eating disorders or that they struggled with anxiety. And you know, I've kind of stumbled across some of this stuff, and what I didn't know is that the more vulnerable we are as leaders, we're actually making space and inviting other people to vulnerably come before us. Now, as healers and intuitives and creatives, we don't have the same professional expectations as other bodies and industries that people might go to. It's a privilege for us to actually share the truth of who we are and what we've overcome, and I know that they are the exact things that I look for when I hire someone that I want to work with. There was an amazing coach in Canada, Kelsey Grant, who I hired to help me with forgiveness in a way that I couldn't do it on my own. And her own experiences with self-forgiveness and forgiving key family members actually gave me the confidence to know that she could help me in the way that I needed. The pattern that I want to suggest for you, I've got it written down here, is all around supporting you to be more authentic, more transparent to your market, to your audience, to the people who are going to want to hear from you. And what you can do is follow a bit of a pattern. And vulnerable sharing, you know, Brene Brown has just made the concept so incredibly popular and huge, and so many people are attracting their tribes now through their story. There is a really fine line, and I'm sure you've been concerned about making sure you stay on the light side of that line, because we can use story to elicit a woe is me reaction. We can draw sympathy, or we can draw attention that isn't actually going to be positive for our business. And so I think a lot of people are very aware of that, and so they actually shy away from the privilege of being vulnerable in our businesses. The way I had a client who said to me, I'm really freaking scared of sharing something with an intention of being vulnerable and actually publicly shaming myself. And I was like, whoa, yes, that is a really big concern. So I came up with a 4-word pattern, and I want to share it with you now. I'll write this down in the comments, so you don't need to write it down. AVLC was how I wish it sounded more attractive, but it doesn't. It's like a vilk. Anyway, sorry, it doesn't sound good. But the 4 words that go with AVLC are authentic, vulnerable, leader, who conquers. Okay, and this is really the beautiful emotional calibration that you can find within yourself when you're really wanting to share something about who you are, to really connect with your audience. Authentic, vulnerable, leader who has conquered. So authentic is all about showing up and being truthful, only relaying an experience or a circumstance or an actual event that's real. Funny I need to say that, but I am going to say that because I think it's really, really important. And you will know people who don't do this. Okay, we're gonna do it, hey? Me and you, we're going to do it. Vulnerable. Now, the trick with vulnerability is really to ensure that you are on the other side of the fence of that emotional vulnerability. Okay, so if your, dear pet is currently missing and you are distraught, this will not make for a good marketing message, okay? You will not be stable and clear and centered enough for people to actually hear the truth of who you are. It's very important to share things that were difficult and vulnerable for us, but to make sure that we're on the other side of the fence. What do I mean by the other side of the fence? It needs to be reconciled, it needs to be processed, it needs to be digested in a way that we can clearly talk about it from a place of recognizing we were vulnerable, but we're actually moved out, we've transformed that vulnerability, and that's why the last one is conquered. I want you to share something you've conquered. Okay, so if you want to talk about the beautiful story of trusting your intuition and being led to the right place and finding your incredible pet. I actually lost my horse this year, and I prayed and I got led up to the top of this hill, and then I started getting really upset to the heavens, and I said, like, you told me to come here, where's my horse? And I was, distraught because our 1-year-old foal had been let out of the paddock. I live in the country. And then I looked down from the top of the mountain, and there she was. She was asleep in a paddock that wasn't far away, snoozing, napping. And it was such an amazing moment to be able to confirm that intuitive guidance that I was receiving. So, see how that was conquered, like, excuse me, I'm talking from a place of having kind of moved past that. So if you want to think about being an authentic, vulnerable leader who has conquered, what you're actually doing in that messaging is that you're actually sharing things from a place of leadership, where, say I did use that story of losing my pony, and being able to find our foal, then I would be able to teach that even if it appears that your internal guidance, intuition, wasn't actually correct or guiding you in a way that you wanted to, just give it a little bit of time and really trust that it will reveal itself to be accurate, and you will be able to receive what you're seeking. That's a look shared really, really well and authentic. yeah, vulnerable, because it was really scary to lose my little foal. We'd only had her for a year. We hand raised her. Anyway, and then be a leader who has conquered. So I doubted my intuition. I was just about to raise my fist to the heavens, and then I just looked in a different direction, in the place where they told me to go, and she was there. So if you want to be able to use this patterning, it will be such a powerful way for people who are really wanting to hear about the ways that you've conquered in your own life, to see the vulnerability that you've experienced and be inspired by it. What we really want to do is we want to show up, and we really want to teach, convey what can actually have a truly transformational effect on people's lives today, so that they can know whether or not we're right for them to come towards. So I hope you're enjoying this soul sharing series. I'm really loving this conversation. I really love talking about how we can truly show up and share the truth of who we are in order to attract our ideal clients. So if you liked this, I would really appreciate a big thumbs up. If you know anybody who would really benefit from this message, please share it with them. And if you want to hear more, go ahead and subscribe, and I'm going to be releasing more episodes of my soul sharing series very soon. It's such a joy to share this with you. I know that being who you are is the most precious gift that you can give to yourself and the whole world. Go ahead and let them see who you really are. That's my wish for you. Lots of love from Lysa.